So as I said, yes, we have started that, and we have done some pilots with some pharma organizations already. But again, as I said, the pharma on the data analytics is at a still nascent stage. They are trying to experiment it in a big way right now, and this is the right time to for any organization to focus upon it.
In R&D side or commercial side?
Pardon?
R&D side or commercial side?
Mostly on the commercial side.
So many variables that can occur during the drug discovery targeting phase. Out of all the data sets that you have, how is it that you will narrow down on the variables? Be it what is the target population for a clinical trial? There can be a number of factors: race, gender, religion, or not, forget religion, race, gender, your genomics, etc. So obviously not all the variables are important. So how do you identify what is the characteristics that should have a greater prominence than the rest of the population for my clinical trials, as an example?
I'll say it's a very complex question you'd asked in a way. So it again depends upon the situation you're trying to address. So if it is trying to find out what are the variables I should look at for doing a big data analytics for a new product, and trying to address whether whether the company should invest on this or some other product, or am I doing some data analytics on the similar situations in terms of the efficacy of X versus Y, or trying to find out the behavioral pattern for the purchase behavioral pattern for by the physicians or the patients. So depend upon, but then mostly for life sciences area, the variables will be mostly defined. If it is a clinical variable, it has to be defined by clinical way. And clinical way, when I say, it could be, say for example, should I look at this parameter how frequently versus some other parameters when we look at a particular drug and a particular disease, will be defined mostly by the clinical side of it, by the diagnostic side of it, by the lab report, from the lab report perspective. So it would be, it is well defined, most of the cases very well defined. So say for example, it's very well known, if you are having a hypertension problem, what you will measure is a BP, is a blood pressure. What frequency you measure, again there are standard guidelines. If it is a diabetes, what is the things you are measuring? It is a blood glucose level. Blood glucose level when? Is it before food, after food, XYZ. So those parameters from the clinical side are almost well defined for doing this kind of big data analytics if you are looking for the clinical side of it. The question comes from the market side or the commercial side, where there could be multiple variables available, multiple data sources available at a patient level, physician level, clinical level, diagnostic level, lab level, whatever. There you have to, of course, there are lot many, from the commercial side one has to think from the business perspective and think about this, the variable makes sense or not, doesn't make sense. So again, it is a decision somebody will have to take from clinical and the commercial side of it. Not an easy question to generically answer what variables are, why I'll choose this variable versus other. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
In case of pair analytics, one data source would be the whatever insurance company is providing. I know one more census variables, census data we are using nowadays for
Which data?
census. Yes.
Okay.
So what can be other potential sources for data which can be used in pair analytics?
So pair analytics, the major pair data analytics, there are 2-3, as you said. One is the pair insurance company's own data. Second is the pharmacy data itself, that is the biggest part of it, where patients are purchasing and getting their drugs on a time, and you are trying to track what amount of drug they purchased, ultimately they purchased, from which store they purchased, what is the frequency they purchased, whether they had any lag in between not taking drug in terms of compliance to the treatment or not. So that data is also very important, pharmacy level data. The census level data, what you're talking about, is more from the DG's perspective, maybe in terms of, say, like say for example, India as a continent, whether the disease is more prevalent in Karnataka versus Tamil Nadu versus Rajasthan XYZ states. Is it more confined towards urban population, rural population? And that census data is certainly very important in triangulating. And one more important data for payer analytics would be on the clinical side again, where you look at the clinical report of the patients as well. Finally, the patient has taken drug, but in terms of clinical parameters, are they improving, not improving, whether the patient is getting cured, cure level is going high, or is it under control? So these all 4-5 major data sources will be very important for payer analytics.
But as an hospital would not provide their data to any company, any payer analytics company. So
No, so let me address that, and that is a very burning issue right now in terms of data, getting the data information. So there are lot many deals now happened with respect to payer companies getting the data from hospitals and from the medical fraternity also. There are now payer data also being sold to pharma companies and anybody who can purchase that. Only thing which is done before purchasing or before selling the data is removing those specific IDs, names specifically which you can identify this is the person. This data is for this person. You are removing those, you are making that, cleaning that data, making it very masked data in that form, and that has been sold and available now. Thank you. Okay.
Doctor? Many thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for your contribution. Right. There are some delegates from the neighboring hall that would like to attend the next session by Mintra. So can we have a couple of minutes so that they, come here and then we can start the session?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Devdut Mukherjee from Myntra. I am a data scientist there. So I hope some of you have started shopping clothes online now. Online clothes shopping has seen it's more of a late into the cycle of online shopping, and there are fair reasons for that. Some of you who are not into online shopping yet might be not shopping online for some of the reasons we'll talk about here. So here you see this is a personal assistant at a shopping center trying to give personal guidance to a shopper. And some of you are not shopping yet may care a great deal about this, and that's why you're not shopping, right? And that's perfectly acceptable because at least in fashion, personal assistance while shopping, understanding the customers deeply, because people have different fashion tastes, preferences, and it's our duty to sort of serve them and help them discover the products that match up to their tastes. There are various softer aspects to personal assistance. I mean, in the offline shopping world, I recall one of the main reasons as a kid I used to accompany my mother to sari stores was because they used to feed me with cold drinks. I don't know whether they serve cold drinks at stores these days. Probably they don't. But it's important for any store for that matter, not just clothes or apparel stores, to give their customers a sense of that they are privileged. There are people to serve them at a personal level. And unfortunately, one of the complaints about online shopping is there's no such connect with the vendor, right? So you're all by yourself. There are a lot of products that we stock, but it's somehow left to you to discover the ones that you would like. And that's one of the reasons why we are leaking so much of profits by giving you so much discounts, right? So, but that needs to change as we go ahead. And one of the primary goals of our team at Myntra is to make fashion shopping personal again. Okay, and that's we'll talk about some of those initiatives in this talk. So broadly, this is the outline of the talk. I'll focus on 3 different things. At the heart of it is models of customer understanding. What are the things we understand about our customer? What is the data that we look at? What kind of models are we building? The next is this deep understanding about our customers should help drive a personalized customer engagement. And this is both while you're at Myntra shopping online on the site, as well as when you're not online, and we should be able to follow you through emails or other channels to help you come back again and shop at our site. And the third thing is about data-driven retail functions, which is more inward-facing. And this is also equally important and slightly harder at times, because once you have models of customer understanding, these are mostly statistical models, right, machine learning models. It's very easy to drive personalized interactive features on the website, because statistical models are good at driving computer programs. But sometimes it's not that easy for to rally the entire organization's decision making around the knowledge of customers that you may have unearthed through data science and all the machine learning techniques. And we'll talk briefly about how we are transforming, in some sense, the entire retail organization and different functions of our organization to live the value of data-driven decision making. So I'll touch upon that as well. Okay, so first I'll get started with models of customer understanding. It's understanding customers deeply is something I don't have to elaborate further on. So I have 3 different model families, or the 3 different kinds of data as well as models that I'll talk about, which are important. The first one I'll talk about is what we call behavioral data that we collect about our customers, and this is more business as usual kind of stuff, less things that are novel about this model family, and is available in most organizations. So things like the lifetime value of the customer, how frequently he's shopping, recency, average sales price, discount levels, wardrobe penetration, blah, 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 right? But business as usual they may be, these are important, and there are various, these in some sense give you the first cut, very rudimentary analysis that you would start off on given any business problem, right? The other thing that interesting about such kinds of data and measures is they help you measure some of the initiatives that you may have initiated, right? So for example, you're doing some website personalization. How do you measure the effectiveness of that? And one of the way we are doing that is using such behavioral data. We segment our customers into high value, low value. So we have an entire chain of value-based segments, and over time we can measure whether your initiatives are actually helping move the customers up the value chain, right? So using transition matrix such as this, we can measure that. Next, this is more interesting and would be a core part of this talk. What we are trying to do at Myntra is trying to learn about customer taste, the fashion taste of a customer, or in other words, we are trying to understand each customer's personal style, right? So personal style that is reflected in the preferences in the preferences of the customer across different product attributes like brands, price bands, color, pattern, size, etc. So even before you come in to buy shirts tomorrow, we can predict what sizes you wear, what patterns, whether it's checked or striped, or what is it that you would like, at what price points, what brands, etc. And we have the many predictive models that go into prediction of fashion taste, and there are lots of technological challenge and research challenges to be solved in detecting personal style of a customer. And some of the data sets that we have in fashion is fairly unique, and that's what presents unique challenges. For example, in any recommendation setting, the classic setting is of movies and books and things like that. But the data in fashion is very different from that kind of a data because it's much more fast moving. If you have a movie, Gone with the Wind was like, it has been so many years and it's still active, right? And people still see those movies and read the popular books. But in fashion, one particular product, this shirt is there today, it'll go away in 20 days and it won't come back. So it's important for us to learn preferences not at an item level, which is done in typical data science units. You have this classic user item matrix, and people get preferences of users on different items. But such techniques don't work so very well in fashion, and that's why it calls for newer research methods. And one of the things that sets us apart is the ability to predict preferences on product attributes, right, which will stay forever, which are more long-lasting than items per se. And here I'm just plotting brand preferences in men apparel for a particular customer. What kind of neck does he prefer in t-shirts? So we go to very deep levels, like if you're looking at sports shoes, whether you would prefer cleats or what should be the ankle height, whether it's high ankle or low tops, and so on and so forth. So there are thousands of product attributes that we try to estimate our user preferences and taste preferences on. So taste, by definition, is something which is long term. You have a question? Yes. Yeah.
Are we looking at signals that are coming in from the past history, or are you looking at signals coming from other data sources? For example, new fashion style introduced in a new Hollywood movie, for example,
Right.
may cause the preferences to shift, but you never have a signal from the previous history of data. So do your models also take care of external signals such as this?
Right. So some of these models, so taste by definition is long term, right? It won't change like every day. If I am, and some people have very strong taste, some people don't, right? Some people may wear all kinds of t-shirts, round neck, polo neck, etc. And some people will really swear by polo solid t-shirts, right? They won't wear checks. So it will vary from one person to another, and that's why it's important to get the confidence for